Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. I am Josh and my co-host Mike. Today we are going to be recapping the Super Bowl. We'll talk about how some of our best bets went on that game. We'll recap the big picture from that game and the details. We also have some sports headlines in the NFL and the NBA over the past week, so we'll talk about that. But before we get into that, do not forget to like and subscribe to the video and to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the support. We will start here with the first headline of the day. Deebo Samuel trade request for the second straight offseason in a row now. Deebo Samuel looks for a trade. He had a very disappointing year this year, but he's still a really good athlete and he's a weapon. We know he could be used as a running back. He's a good returner. He's a solid slot receiver. He can work on the outside as well. The problem with him is he seems to be a bit of a locker room cancer. We cannot forget that he did try to fight his long snapper earlier this year. Or was it the kicker? Was it Moody or the long snapper?
I think it was Moody.
It might have been Moody.
Or it might not have
I
been
don't
Moody. It
quite
might have
remember.
been the backup kicker when Moody was hurt.
Maybe. He tried to fight somebody on the special teams staff earlier this year. But San Francisco, they have Ayuk, who they just signed to a big deal. They have Juwan Jennings, who got signed to an extension. Ricky Pearsall, who they drafted last year. So they're going to be fine. As far as Deebo Samuel's potential options of teams to go to, I like the Steelers as an option. They're a team that could use some receivers for sure. The Commanders as well could use another weapon to use next to Terry McLaurin. I think another sleeper here could be the Rams, who are going to be losing Cooper Kupp most likely this offseason. A pretty short trip there for Deebo if he wants to become a member of the Rams. And I could definitely see Sean McVay wanting to have a weapon like Deebo in his offense. So I think Rams, Commanders, and Steelers are all pretty solid options for him.
Yes, it was the long snapper, Tabor Pepper.
Yeah, that's what I
He
thought.
went to Michigan State, so I knew. Yeah, I remembered it. But yeah, he tried to fight their long snapper. It does seem to be a little bit of a locker room cancer. He has done a complete 380 or a 360 on his former rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, as they used to have a lot of beef. But he seems to be lovey-dovey. He's wearing AJ Brown shirts all Super Bowl
Yeah.
week, and then was FaceTiming them in the locker room, celebrating with them from the outside. He's obviously not going to become a member of the Eagles. That's not going to happen. But I've been seeing some potential with the Denver Broncos. I don't really see that move for the Broncos. I think they'd rather just keep with their young guys that they have going for them right now, like Marvin Mims. He's been great for them, but he's requesting a trade, and we'll see where he ends up. I still kind of feel like I see him staying in San Francisco, but we'll see where he ends up going.
Yeah, I would like to have us be the first to report here on the Engage A podcast. Congratulations, Deebo Samuel, on your first Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
It was just
hard
crazy to
fought.
see. Yeah, hard fought. He really worked for that one. But another headline here, Aaron Rodgers unlikely to return to the New York Jets. It seems like this divorce is official. They said it was unlikely, but it seems like it's almost absolutely no chance at this point. I called it about a month ago about Pittsburgh. I could still very well see him going to Pittsburgh. I think that's a very good option for them. Looks like Russ Wilson's probably not going to be returning to Pittsburgh, so that would be a really good option for them. I know you still have the same problems that he has in the Jets, kind of. Not a great O line. Running game is questionable at times. You don't really know about the play calling, but I could definitely see him going to Pittsburgh. The Jets, they have options now. They could go with Sam Darnold, sign him to a decently big deal, or they can go get a bridge guy like Jameis Winston. I would love to see them get Jameis. Get Jameis, let him start for a full year and just see what happens. But when you look at the Jets' big picture, they just got Aaron Glenn. They just got a new GM. This would be the perfect time for them to draft a guy. They probably have to trade up a little bit to get one of the top quarterbacks, or they can just take one of the three through five quarterbacks that go in this draft. But if I were the Jets, I would want to draft a quarterback, start from scratch. It's the best case scenario to have your brand new head coach and brand new GM with a brand new quarterback, line up those timelines. That's what they would do if they were a smart organization. But as we know, they are not that. So I don't expect them to do that. I think they end up going with a bridge guy like a Darnold or a Jameis.
Yeah, I can definitely see them doing that, going and drafting a bridge guy. Maybe still drafting a quarterback late like Jalen Milroe, who knows? I guess he did not raise the stock very much at senior day, but Aaron Rodgers moving on could kind of see this coming. I'd also be curious to see now what the Jets do with Devontae Adams because I'm assuming he will not want to stay in New York. We talked about the Steelers potentially being a place for Rodgers. I can see it. It sounds like some of the teammates in Pittsburgh aren't a big fan of it. Deshaun Elliott said leave him at the retirement home. So we'll see how that works out. He doesn't play on that side of the ball, but I don't see Russell Wilson returning to Pittsburgh. I see Justin Fields returning, but I think there could be a lot of teams that want to go and get him as a potential starting quarterback. So I don't know what the Steelers are going to do, but I can see Aaron Rodgers being a good option for them next year. But they're going to have to find a way to keep that over 500 streak for Tomlin alive. And Rodgers struggled last year, but he still put up good stats. I can see him having a great start to the year, and then again, like in normal Pittsburgh fashion, falling off late. So I can see that happening.
I will say though, out of all the guys that they've had in recent years, when you look at Russ, Fields, Pickett, what was the other quarterback they had there? I can't remember.
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, they had Mason Rudolph as well, but all these guys that they've had for 1 year or less, did they have Mitch at one point, or am I just misremembering
Yeah,
that? They
yeah,
did?
they had him last year. I'm pretty sure, or 2 years ago.
Yeah, so they've had a lot of quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is by far the best of all those guys. So, and a lot of those guys made the playoffs. So I think Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers could definitely work. Speaking of quarterbacks, Geno Smith is going to remain the Seahawks quarterback. I'm shocked by this a little bit. I thought they were going to try to just start over and go a bit on the younger side after this year. Although they did have a pretty solid year, all things considered. They had a tough stretch at times, especially with how bad this offensive line was, but they ended up having a decent season. They need to improve that O line. Otherwise, this is a bad decision. Geno Smith can be a really good quarterback if you give him protection, you give him great weapons. They already have great weapons there. The protection is a problem. So if the Seahawks think that they can just rebuild this offensive line and keep Geno Smith, then I understand the move. You have a ton of weapons on this offense with JSN, DK. I don't know about the future of Tyler Lockett, but this is a very QB friendly system if they improve this offensive line. So I think this could be a good decision. But like I said, I think if you can't do anything to improve that offensive line, then this is just a complete lateral move for them.
They did bring in new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. We can see what he can do. Last year, he was with the Saints and had maybe the greatest 2 week stretch of NFL history where we thought the Saints were going to go and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But after that, Saints offense did struggle a lot throughout the season. I really don't know what else the Seahawks would have done at the quarterback position. You could have went out and got maybe Russell Wilson, maybe Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, who knows? But I feel like that would kind of just be a little bit more of the same. You keep Geno Smith. He has a relationship with the guys, JSN, DK Metcalf. Really, what they need is Clint Kubiak to come in and change this offense, get them a run game going with Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet, and then, like you said, improve the offensive line. So I think Geno Smith can be successful. Do I think he can go win a Super Bowl? No, but I think he can go out there, be successful for the Seahawks, and maybe finally get over the hump and make the playoffs.
Okay, we'll move on to some basketball headlines here. First one, this is the trade that we talked about last week. Mark Williams going to the Lakers for Dalton Knecht. That trade ends up falling through. Mark Williams, as we talked about, is very injury prone, and it came back to bite them here as he did not pass his physical. We both believed that this was an overpay by the Lakers at the time, but they did have house money after the Luka trade, so they were willing to overpay for a center. Dalton Knecht now might be a little lost in this offense with all the wings and guards that LA has now. I know he didn't play on Monday night because I don't know, I think he wants some time off or something to process everything or something like that. But the Lakers now they have a decent roster. They're on a great winning streak. I believe they're fourth in the West right now, but they're stuck with Jackson Hayes as their starting center, which is just a brutal starting center to have. And this is a league where you need a center. There's not that many that are really good and available at the deadline. Mark Williams was one of them, and they were not able to get him. So I think that's very concerning for the Lakers. I think it almost eliminates them from being able to compete this year, but we saw Luka drag a team all the way to the finals last year, so maybe the Lakers are still in it.
Yeah, that Mavericks team had more than enough centers, though. This
That's true,
Lakers
yeah.
team really doesn't have that. Trade falls through for Mark Williams. Dalton Knecht, like you said, he really didn't even look pleased on the bench at all. He kind of looked like an outsider in his own team at this point after getting traded and then all of a sudden having to come back and return to the Lakers. Mark Williams had been playing great, but the trade, like you said, it was a little bit of an overpay. Now it doesn't happen, and we'll see if Luka can get it done with Jackson Hayes. I guess I did see something, not 100% sure how valid it was, but LeBron was kind of surprised, and LeBron's team was very shocked at how quickly the Lakers decided to trade first round picks and picks for guys when Luka asked for a lob potential off a pick and roll or just lob potential big men. And the Lakers immediately go out there and make a trade for one when LeBron's been asking for help for a couple years and really never got anything. So it'll be interesting to see if LeBron's camp continues to think like that throughout the offseason and maybe he tries to make a move.
I mean, this is a blatant shift in the Lakers organization from being
Yeah,
full LeBron to okay, we need to start thinking about our future now, which I think is great for them. I think if you're a Lakers fan, you love to see this. Let's move away from just doing whatever LeBron wants and let's think about our future now that we have Luca. Let's see what Luca wants. So I'm with that if I'm a Lakers fan. I think that's a
I'm
great
with it if I'm
mentality
a
to have.
Lakers fan. Yes,
Yeah.
but that's just LeBron's camp's point of view.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we saw that maybe they do want to go somewhere. I think he's just gonna want to stay with his son.
Yeah.
So maybe they're a package deal if they go somewhere. But last basketball headline here. Hubie Brown, longtime head coach, longtime announcer, does retire. And we also see Dickie V return this week. So big week for announcers. It's 50 years at ESPN for Hubie Brown now. He has broadcasted or coached against 80% of players in NBA history, which is just an absolutely wild stat. One of the all-time greats. And of course, we were all very happy to see Dickie V return on Saturday. They did him dirty with the ESPN 2 slot, but it's great to see him back on the mic. Big weekend for two of the greatest broadcasters ever.
Yeah, two of the greatest broadcasters ever, no doubt. Hubie Brown, been around for about 50 years. He's been fantastic. He's got an iconic voice. He doesn't sound, I mean, I think he's like 92 or something. He really doesn't sound it as much. Um, but he's great. He's been around forever, called a lot of games, him and Mike Tirico. It's sad to see him go, but hopefully he has a long retirement. And then you see Dickie V come back in college basketball, and there's games are just better when Dickie V's announced. You can feel his energy through the screen, and he did that Clemson Duke game, and it was great to hear his voice again. It's been so long. I think it was 2 years, and didn't return. It's been 2 years, and when he was 2 years ago, he didn't really do too many games because he needed about 2 years to return from his previous bout with cancer. But he's 10-0 against cancer, undefeated, and
Yeah,
hopefully
he
he
is.
never loses that battle.
Yeah, he's dominating cancer.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll move on here. Super Bowl recap. Eagles 40, Chiefs 22. This was an absolute ass kicking. The score is very deceiving for how much of an ass kicking this was. From the jump, this game showed shades of Tampa Bay, Kansas City in the Super Bowl back in 2019, or was it 2020? Actually, I think it was 2020. But Kansas City's offensive line, especially their tackles, struggled all year long, and it finally caught up to them. Vic Fangio was able to rush four and get pressure all game long, 38.1% pressure rate without blitzing. Chiefs had legitimately no run game at all and didn't try much, to be honest, because they weren't in a position where they were supposed to be running the ball. Kansas City had a first down on their first offensive snap of the game and didn't have another for the first. Sorry, they had a first down on their first offensive snap of the game and didn't have another first down until the second half. 40-22 looks way better than it was for Kansas City. This game will be remembered by the 34-0 lead with 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter for the Philadelphia Eagles. Xavier Worthy had probably the quietest 8 catches, 157 yards, and 2 touchdowns in Super Bowl history. Honestly, if they he was arguably a Super Bowl MVP candidate in this game stat wise. Jalen Hurts, of course, wins it. He played really well, but he only really won the Super Bowl MVP because the Chiefs were able to shut down Saquon. Just 2 yards per carry for Saquon. If you would have told us going into this game that Saquon would rush 25 times for like 57 yards or whatever it was, there's no way we would have picked the Eagles to win this game, but they do regardless. Neither team had great offensive stats because the Chiefs just couldn't move the ball at all, and the Eagles defense made it really easy on their own offense there. Short fields, pick sixes. Eagles have now stopped two three-peats in the past decade. They stopped this one. They also stopped the Patriots involuntarily because they were in the middle. They stopped them on the second of three. But when you look back, it's Patriots, Eagles, Patriots, and then Chiefs, Chiefs, Eagles. So they were able to stop two there. This definitely affects Mahomes' legacy, but 5 appearances is still very impressive. I think he's going to get a minimum of 5 Super Bowls still, but this definitely affects his legacy as far as chasing Brady because he would have had the three-peat that Brady never had. And now with Brady having that head-to-head, he almost has to go get 6 or 7 to be in that conversation.
Yeah, he definitely has to go out and get at least 6 or 7. Brady has the head-to-head against him when Brady was pretty old by that point. Just a dominant game from the Eagles here. I wasn't expecting the Eagles to go out and dominate like this because it really wasn't close, like you said, 34-0. It never really felt like the Chiefs ever had a foot in the game, or it almost looked like they didn't even deserve to be on the same field as the Eagles. The Eagles defense, we've been talking about how good they were all season, and Vic Fangio had one of probably for him his best game of his career as a defensive coordinator in the Super Bowl. This defense just was all over the field. They got Mahomes for 6 sacks, hit him hard a couple of times, got that strip sack. Milton Williams was fantastic in this game. Honestly, you could give a start of the week to every single player on this Eagles D line. They didn't blitz, I don't think, one time this game, and they almost generated pressure on like 50% of snaps. It was just unbelievable. And then on the backside, they were fantastic as well. Cooper DeJean gets a pick six in the Super Bowl on his 22nd birthday. Zach Bond, who we haven't really talked about too much all season, but he's really been one of the best linebackers all season, was a depoy candidate. He was fantastic in this game again, had 7 tackles, got an interception. Josh Sweat was great in this game. He had 2.5 sacks in this game. Just so many guys on this Eagles team went out and had a big game. Avonte Maddox had a big pass deflection. Just all around, just fantastic. The Eagles really didn't have to punt the ball at all. I'm not sure if they even punted in this game
I don't think they did.
because it says for Chiefs punt returns, one punt return but 5 yards. So
Oh,
that can't be
they gotta stop at one point. I think the Eagles punted from like the 50 or something.
okay.
Just something like
Well,
that.
yeah. Um, but just a dominant job by the Eagles all around. Jalen Hurts was great in this game. He'd been good in the postseason, but he hadn't had to do too much with how great the team has been. But he goes out 2 touchdowns passing, 1 touchdown rushing, threw an interception that wasn't a good interception when he was under pressure, but he responded and played well the rest of the game even after it. There's only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history to throw for 200 yards, throw 2 touchdowns, rush for at least 50 and a touchdown in the Super Bowl. It's Jalen Hurts and Joe Montana now. Good company for him to be in. He got his get back, and his Eagles team got their get back on the Chiefs. Devontae Smith was great in this game. He gets a touchdown. AJ Brown also gets a touchdown. Jahan Dotson almost had a touchdown, but was called down at the 1 yard line. And for the Chiefs, Mahomes just didn't have that defense was just too good for the Chiefs offensive line, which has been a great unit. They just got bullied all game and had no answer. They ran the ball. They didn't really have a chance to run the ball. It felt like when they were running it was decent, but they were behind so big so quickly that they just couldn't stick with it. Like you said, Xavier Worthy was great in this game. Travis Kelce was not. Maybe one of the worst games of his career. He only has 4 catches for 39 yards, but there were some plays out there where he just stood still and Mahomes was under pressure. Just didn't look good. He's hinted at retirement for the last couple years, but he did say he's going to have to mule it over. And then we do see DeAndre Hopkins get a touchdown in the Super Bowl, so good for him there.
Yeah, okay, I'm seeing now. The punt was so it was the pick six, then the Chiefs punted, and then late in the second half, the Eagles punted back, and then that's when Mahomes threw his second pick on the first play of that
That's
drive,
right. Yes.
resulted in the
Yeah.
Eagles touchdown. And then the
And
game
that
was
punt, that was because it was a coffin corner punt.
yeah, and that was essentially the end of the game right there, 24
Yeah.
nothing at half. Yeah, this was a complete shock, definitely to me. I think this is arguably the worst game of Pat Mahomes' career. His stats don't look like it, but it was basically entirely garbage
Second
time for
half.
him in this
Yeah.
game. I mean, like we said, it was 34 nothing at basically the end of the third quarter there. So very, very shocked by that. Sucks for Andy Reid too, who also probably doesn't have as many years left as you would have liked. So now you're in a spot if you're Mahomes where you're probably going to lose your head coach here soon. You're probably going to lose your top receiving target in your career here soon. So it's going to be a real test. Are we didn't get to see it with Brady and Belichick until the very end, where it was always, is it Brady? Is it Belichick? Which one is it? And we didn't get to find out till the very end of Brady's career. It ended up being Brady. Of course, all credit to Bill Belichick still, but it's gonna come down to can Mahomes be Brady and can he go win without his head coach? Who do the Chiefs bring in? Do they maybe just let Spags have the job and go with a defensive head coach and trust Mahomes with whatever offensive coordinator they go with? I don't know, but there's a lot of question marks going forward now for the Chiefs that would not have been here if it wasn't for this absolutely embarrassing performance.
It would not be. Maybe it's Matt Nagy. Who knows?
That'd be crazy.
Maybe Matt Nagy gets another chance to go and be head coach. But yeah, who knows what they do? Kelsey's not going to be there too much longer. They do got some great young weapons. Xavier Worthy, I think, is going to be great. And you still got Pacheco. He's a solid running back. But yeah, who knows what they do if the head coach moves on, Andy Reid, and will Mahomes be able to maybe he has a couple years where he struggles and doesn't get one, and maybe that's when the Bills finally get a chance and the Ravens finally get a chance to go and win a Super Bowl. But I expect him to still find a way to, even with a new head coach, to win these games, and that's why I would just assume that they probably promote from within and try to find a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's gonna have to go back to actually trying in the regular season and putting
Yeah,
up good regular season stats. And I think this is where we could see an opportunity of Mahomes going and winning an MVP or two now because he's gonna have to go do the most in the regular season. He's not gonna be able to lean on Andy Reid to just carry him to a top three seed and be able to win the playoff games that he needs to win. So yeah, I'm still in shock from this, and it's been like 3 days now.
yeah, I'm not in shock. It's not what I was expecting. I thought the Chiefs would find a way to keep the game close, and then in the end, find a way to win. The refs couldn't even be a factor in this game because of how much of a blowout it was. They did make a couple of questionable calls for both sides early. The AJ Brown OPI should not have been called. He really didn't push off and made it just a catch that he makes almost every game. And then the call on, I think, Trent McDuffie on Goddard just really shouldn't have been a call either. So both teams got one bad call, and really it didn't matter because the Eagles blew them out.
Well, according to D Hop, the refs did play a factor.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was blaming the refs after the game, which is
We
insane
did.
in a game you were down 34.
Yeah. He could have made that catch at the end of the first half, but
He had a couple drops, I think, actually. So
yeah.
yeah, that's a brutal look to be complaining about the refs down 34. But yeah, I guess we could talk about our studs and duds for this game. My stud, I'm gonna go with Vic Fangio. This was just an absolute masterclass from him in this game. Being able to rush for and get home to Mahomes is the strategy. It just comes down to can you do it? The Bucks in the Super Bowl with Todd Bowles, they were able to do it. They were able to get home to Mahomes, and when he's under pressure and he's forced to step up in the pocket, he gets smashed, and that happened over and over in this game, especially in the first half when you see the Chiefs go punt, 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 pick six, punt, interception, punt, punt, turnover on downs for the first 7 possessions of this game. It was unbelievable. We haven't seen that from this Chiefs offense since that game against Tampa Bay. So I got to go with Vic Fangio, masterful performance. But I also want to give an honorable mention here to Howie Roseman for the roster construction of this team. This defense, after last year, they were ranked in the 30s on run defense and pass defense. They completely fell apart from a couple years ago. He goes out there, he drafts two corners, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Both of them end up being hits and some of the best players that come out of this draft. He goes and gets Zach Bond, like you said. And of course, the past few years with all these Georgia guys, he's been getting trolled for just drafting Georgia guys, but they've really all panned out to be great players. Nakobe Dean's been great. Jalen Carter's been an absolute stud. I love what Howie Roseman did. He was the mastermind of this team, and he makes Nick Sirianni look great.
Yeah, 100%. Howie Roseman did a huge job getting this team together. They were phenomenal defensively, and bringing in Vic Fangio was a huge part of that. The defense in this game won it for him. Jalen Hurts was great for their offense, but we did give him a stud last week. So for my stud of the week, I'm going to go Zach Bond. That interception was great. I don't know if he's gotten enough credit this year for how great he's been with this Eagles defense. He's been fantastic, and he gets a big interception in the Super Bowl. And I'm gonna pick him for my stud of the Super Bowl here. You could pick almost anyone on that uh, Eagles defense, though. I mean, Vic Fangio especially for start of the week because they just all were so good.
Yeah, for my dud, there's plenty of options here for dud. I'll go with I guess I'll just go with the whole Chiefs offensive line because they just struggled. Vic Fangio didn't blitz really for like most of this game, and they just could not protect Mahomes, couldn't give him the time in the pocket. Eagles did a great job on the back end as well. It's hard to really give duds in this game because I feel like it's really just the Eagles just completely just outperformed them, and there wasn't too many glaring horrible spots for the Chiefs outside of their offensive line. But all the credit in the world to Vic Fangio. He was able to expose this team that had to shuffle their offensive line around all season long. They were able to get through it though because they had Mahomes, they had Kelsey, they had Spags, they had Andy Reid. But when it comes to the Super Bowl, you have to have that tightened up. And if you don't, a guy like Vic Fangio in this D line is going to eat your lunch money. So it sucks for the Chiefs.
That's exactly what he did. For my dud of the week, I'm just gonna go with Travis Kelsey. He had just a terrible game. Only 4 catches, 39 yards, didn't block great. Obviously, with all the pressure, just didn't have much going for him. Tried to pick a couple fights it looked like on the field and kind of got little boyed by Jordan Davis, who is a mammoth of a human, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson kind of trolled him a little bit too. But on the football field, he just didn't play good. Didn't really move around like we normally do, and he's getting older, so who knows what the Chiefs do with Kelsey? Do they stick with him? They kind of have to. He's Mahomes' number one guy, but he's getting older and he's considering retirement, and it'll just be interesting to see how that goes. But he's my dud of the week.
Hey, before we end here, I just want to look at some of the Super Bowl odds for next season. The very early odds. Your Indianapolis Colts are 100 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, so a
Tight,
decent chance there.
tight.
The worst in the league is the New York Giants, who stand alone actually at 250 to 1. That's unbelievable. The Chiefs are the favorites once again at plus 650 with the Ravens. Eagles are plus 700, as well as the Bills and the Lions. And then there's a big drop off after those five teams: Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles, Bills, Lions, who arguably probably the five best teams this year. Then you have San Francisco 49ers, who find themselves at sixth at 14 to 1. And then there's the teams like the Bengals, the Commanders, the Packers. But if I like a flyer here, that's not the Lions, I mean, the Niners at 14 to 1. Ain't bad.
Yeah, that ain't
They have the
bad.
talent. They have a head coach. They've been there before.
Yeah, they do have they don't have the Super Bowl runner-up curse, which the Chiefs will have next year, the Super Bowl
Hmm.
runner-up curse, but they don't have that. And so I can see that, but I think the Lions is a good bet no matter what. And man, the Colts at 100 to 1. Jeez,
You like that?
they're doubting us.
You like that? You gonna
Yeah,
place it?
man. Yeah, man. No.
Imagine you hit on that, bet that today, and hit on it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It would
But
be.
no.
But that will about do it unless you have anything else to say about this game.
Super Bowl prop bets. They were all right for us. The
Not for
Chiefs
me.
ones weren't as good. For the ones that I personally bet, they all pretty much hit. The Xavier Worthy anytime touchdown obviously hit. That was great. Both teams completed first pass. Over
That's
two
big.
and a half players pass attempt. Kenny Pickett came in and clutched that one up for us. But we both had Harrison Butker props. He didn't really see the field at all.
No.
Maybe I think only for kickoffs. Xavier Worthy didn't get rushing attempts. Devontae Smith 5+ receptions hurt, but we did get the George Karlaftis 1+ sack, which I lay. That one was
Huge.
nice. And coin flip tails, baby.
Yep. Harrison Butker did have a couple decent onside kicks. Neither of
Yeah,
them worked, but they were both decent onside kicks.
and that's a one I think I guess we could comment about quickly is the fact that the Chiefs were down 34 and couldn't onside kick is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Just a stupid. I don't know who thought that not having onside kicks until the fourth quarter was a good idea, but
And the fact you have to tell the team,
yeah,
just stupid. Why would you make it harder? It's already hard.
yeah,
I don't understand that at all. That's probably my least favorite rule from this year. I'd rather fix that than do anything with kickoff at all. But
yeah, 100%. And I bet they do you get a chance at like a 4th and 15 to get it, which I think is still stupid because your odds of getting a 4th and 15 is way higher, I feel like, than an onside kick at this
yeah,
point.
I think they have to do like a 4th and 25 or something.
Yeah,
Which I mean, that's interesting though.
that's interesting, but I don't know. Just like
It's a
go
little
back to normal
gimmicky.
kickoffs.
Yeah, it's a little gimmicky.
It's
I
yeah,
don't love that.
it's XFL-y.
Yeah, I agree. But that will about do it for our Super Bowl recap episode here. A little look at the future here. We're going to be getting into our division recaps for the year. So I believe we'll probably start with AFC and NFC East on the next episode, recapping those teams and how they did this season. And then our next 4 episodes or 3 episodes after that will be covering the other divisions, and then that will take us basically right into March Madness. So looking forward to that. If you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit all the links on our social or in our description for social media, TikTok, Spotify, and all that good stuff. And we'll see everybody in the next one.